Asian markets were mixed today. On the one hand, investors are excited about the introduction of vaccines in some markets, as well as expected fiscal stimulus support, while at the same time, coronavirus infections continue to rise at an alarming pace. Over in Japan, the Nikkei share average ended up 0.03%. Hong Kong shares were up with somewhat more determination, the Hang Seng Index rising by 0.74% on the day, while mainland China registered a decline with the Shanghai Composite Index down 0.21%. Over in the United States, the S&P 500 inched up to a record high close on Wednesday, and the Nasdaq Composite Index dipped as investors weighed upbeat vaccine developments and a potential coronavirus fiscal package against a bleak private jobs report. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose by 0.2%. The S&P 500 gained 0.18%, while the Nasdaq Composite Index dropped by 0.05%. All right, let's take a look at the indicators. Well, from on the markets, I'm joined via phone by Owen Nkomo. He's Executive Director at the Inkunzi Wealth Group. Thank you so much for joining us, Owen. Now, just give us a sense of what you're seeing as the key drivers in global markets today, as well as our local market.
Hi, no, it's great to be here today. The markets are doing relatively okay in South Africa. We're trading up 1%. But in Europe, the markets are not doing much, really. The FTSE is flat on the day. Germany is down small. France is down small as well. And I think it's people really starting to wind down and think about December and things and how things will shape up in 2021. And the most popular response I'm getting these days is that let's not try and even guess what 2021 has got in store for us. Given what we've seen in 2020, I think people are generally just using a wait-and-see approach to the markets. But the good news around all these vaccines that are starting to prove very effective in the fight against COVID, and potentially the combination of the fact that next year there will be a different leadership in America, is helping people to think maybe we'll be able to manage the highest risk levels of COVID globally, and maybe the market can continue to rally again.
Yeah, I suppose to a certain extent, worries around Brexit, the idea that the UK may actually leave the EU in the form of a hard Brexit. That's also one of the reasons, I suppose, that's causing the European markets to decline somewhat.
Yeah, look, I mean, when it comes to the Brexit, I guess the stance also that's been taken is that, it will happen when it happens in the shape that it happens. That might sound a little bit convoluted, but that's because we've been told a lot of different things by these people that are trying to settle this Brexit matter. We've had many extensions to it, and there's been many suggestions to try and do this thing differently. But I do believe that the most honest explanation or answer to how Brexit will happen is going to be seen when it finally happens, when the negotiations are settled between the UK and the rest of the Eurozone partners.
Yeah. Now, we've seen that the oil price has been doing a bit better, trading well above $46 a barrel for at least the past week or so. And of course, that would be very positive for the likes of Sasol. Sasol has been coming out to update the market on various disposals and partnerships that it's doing. Just give us, in a nutshell, where you think Sasol is right now. And I do see that the share price has been rising in the past couple of sessions. Does this suggest that investors are more confident about the direction of the company?
I think that the increase in oil price certainly plays nicely into the price of Sasol. It's currently trading at 47.90 at the moment. I've seen it at 48 odd over this trading session, and I think that there's a big chance that if it continues with this momentum, it goes through 50. It is good if you're a buyer of oil, but it's bad if you are, the recipient of potentially higher inflation. It might just put the spanner into the interest rate wheels. But I think social management and the CEO, Shem, they've done a really good job of keeping the market informed about the development in the States. They've been able to dispose of some of the projects that are problematic or portions of the projects and do JVs. There's one JV they've done in America, which is going to help at least reduce the load on Sasol by getting into a 50-50 JV for some of their chemicals businesses in America. And I think Sasol definitely looks much better. And I do think, should they think of doing a rights issue, because they've managed to pull through with some of these transactions or some of the reductions in expenses that they promised the shareholders. I do believe shareholders might potentially support a rights issue number.
And then Alexander Forbes, their financial services company, they came out with their half-year results. Just give us your quick thoughts on how they performed and where they're going.
Yes, I mean, the numbers are relatively okay given the difficult operating environment we're in. They've seen a cash increase in some of their, they've seen a cash net increase in the assets by 200 odd million rands. They've seen some inflows coming through on the institutional side of the business for about 8.7 odd billion rands.
Hi, Owen, are you there? Okay, continue. We lost you for a second. Carry on.
Yes, I mean, they note that they've seen a reduction in the monthly contributions from some of their members due to COVID, obviously, and due to people losing their jobs. Their healthcare side remains intact. I think people don't want to play games with their lives, so they've kept their medical aid support through Alexander Forbes ticking away. They've lost marginally on that side of things. I think, like all the other financial services companies, they certainly are going through a difficult period due to COVID.
So it's festive season time, Owen. Some of the workers who are fortunate are going to be getting 13th checks, and some people will be collecting their stokvel monies. What's your advice about how people should go about managing their funds, especially in these very uncertain times?
Yes, Tompo, that's a very important question, and I think we should try and address it every month. Try to say to people, let's think differently about the money that we're contributing for stokvels. For 12 months, we contribute, and then we take that money out in December. And, we essentially are working backwards. Yes, there's needs to be met. Let's take a little bit of cash and put it in a pot that is an investment solution, and have a long-term view to that so the members can get the benefit potentially. For example, some guys are now starting to take that money and put it in stock markets, but with a long-term view. Some are buying unit trusts and some are sending that money offshore. And I think stokvels really need to start thinking differently, because you can't collect 500,000 rand and then at the end of the year you distribute that and go back to zero. And in some cases they're taking this money and giving it to retail shops who do not have credit licenses, and so they can't give interest to these people that are parking money in the retailer shops. So the beneficiary there is obviously the retailer. So stokvel treasurers need to think about that, and they need to engage these shops and try and see maybe they can get a little bit of money back, Nompu.
Very good advice indeed. Owen, we're going to leave it there as we've run out of time now. That was Owen Nkomo. He's the Executive Director at the Inkunzi Wealth Group.